Interesting. And it's funny that you mentioned you're a big consumer of the apps because, I've delivered for a bunch of the services too, but I will say I've ordered probably 50 or 100 times more, not 50 to 100, like 50 to 100x time, 50 to 100x times more because I'm lazy. I've got kids. We've also got a little free credit, and it's sort of my job to try out a lot of these apps. So for those 4 or 5 reasons, I think I have a good excuse. But I know that's actually one of the videos that I like most in the delivery course. I think we have a video on, sort of the one thing you should do when you're first, or one thing you should do when you're first signing up for these services is to actually try them as a customer. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. Well, for one thing, your first delivery in almost every case is going to be free.
Hmm.
So why
As a
not go ahead and get
customer.
that food delivery for free?
Yeah.
But with that,
And
even
I
with
think
that,
in that video in the course, we actually put promo codes for each of the apps. So not only will you get a free meal, but Harry and his kids will also get a free meal. So that's a good sign.
yeah, it's a win-win in addition to getting us that burrito.
Yeah.
But once you experience things from the customers end, that's really where I started coming up with a lot of the delivery strategies. So
Hmm.
like a lot of times these companies will give drivers two deliveries. They offer a
Hmm.
little extra something if you take another delivery. And as a customer, I remember one time I was ordering and I noticed
Yeah.
my driver would just stop on the street. I'm like, well, what's going on? I was getting kind of annoyed. And then after 5 minutes, they started moving back to me.
Yeah.
As a driver, I put two and two together. Oh, they're dropping off another delivery.
Right.
Well,
Batched order.
since the customer may have a chance to get kind of irritable, that'll influence your tip
Hmm.
probably. Why not just send a little standard message saying, "Hey, I have
Yeah.
another order. I'm gonna drop it off real quick, then I'm gonna be heading your way real fast." Now they know
Yeah.
the situation. They're not thinking that you're stopping at a gas station, holding up their meal,
Yeah.
and that all came from me using the customer app.
Interesting. And it's especially important on Uber Eats where you actually, I mean, I guess they now have an option to set a tip at the beginning, but you can, actually set the tip at the end. Where with some of these other delivery apps, you probably noticed, right? That like once you set the tip, like on Doordash, for example, you might be able to go in and change it after, but you set the tip when you place the order. So whether you get good service or bad service, you kind of already tipped, right? So it's
Right.
interesting, to see the differences between those apps. And I mean, I think the batched order example is perfect because, frankly, I think a lot of these delivery companies do a pretty terrible job when it comes to informing the customer what's going on. And I mean, I literally had an order again, I've delivered for the companies too, so I know what's going on. I had an order last night where it was like, I ordered a burrito, actually, speaking of burritos. And, it was probably 20 to 25 minutes where the Postmates app said that the driver was on another delivery. I'm like, dude, where is this guy? Where is this guy going? And you can't actually see where they are when they're on the first leg of a batch trip as a customer, right? I'm assuming there's some privacy reasons there. And so, like, sending a text is such a simple and elegant and easy and quick solution. But I would say 95% of couriers do not do this, maybe higher. And so that's why I really like that, we actually have in the course, we added a script of text messages and situations of when you can use, like exactly what you're describing. Cause like that small thing, especially on Postmates where you leave, they ask you for a percentage tip afterwards. Like you can imagine people are either going up or down based off the experience.
Definitely. And I don't underestimate cash tips. I thought they were
Mm,
dead. Then I got one this weekend. When I
mm-hmm.
got back in the car, I was sitting thinking like, because a DoorDash let me, it says if they tipped or not after
Yeah.
you complete the delivery. It says zero. I was like, oh, that's kind of. And then like she sent her little 3-year-old to give me like a cash tip. I was like,
Ah,
oh, hey, little man. They just gave me a
that's
cash tip. I
nice.
was like, oh, wow.
Delivery. And you said something interesting. You said that you made about the same doing delivery as rideshare. And personally, I'm curious to know, maybe you can talk a little about the market you're driving and how much you were making or trying to average in general in a second here. But I've always found personally, and from a lot of the surveys that we've done, that delivery drivers have made a little less than rideshare. I've sort of said that drivers can make, the average delivery driver makes maybe $10 to $15 an hour before expenses, and the average rideshare driver makes more in the $15 to $20 per hour before expense range. And I think the reason why I've always sort of seen that in the data and felt that is because people will pay more for a ride for themselves than they will for their burrito, right? So I'm curious to know, why your experience was different.
Well, it all comes down to strategy. One thing I love
Mm,
about the delivery industry is It is skill based to some degree. So if you do learn the right tactics, the right strategies, you
Yeah.
can actually earn a decent amount more than the average delivery driver. I mean, a simple strategy is if you're gonna do multi-apping, like driving for Uber Eats and DoorDash,
Hmm.
we don't often think that when you're at the end of your first delivery, you could go ahead and turn on, let's say you're on DoorDash, you can turn on Uber Eats, get
Mm.
your thing, drop off that order, and then head off to the next delivery. And that aspect alone can increase your per hour average by like $2 to $3 because you slid an
Yeah.
extra delivery in.
Yeah.
And the difference you mentioned as far as ride sharing delivery and earnings, it usually is that one delivery that you're not getting. So if you can slide that in
Mm.
that hour, all of a sudden it balances the scale.
Interesting. And I mean, what's funny is that, this is actually a strategy that we've talked about before in regards to Uber and Lyft drivers. And this was in the early days before Uber and Lyft were sending you the next trip request, right? When this kind of this kind of action that you're taking, like going online with another app, maybe when you're like a mile or two away from your destination, that was something that I used to do all the time. And then, now the companies have added this next trip feature. And there's also, there's higher volume, right? Typically you're doing more rides per hour with Uber and Lyft than you are with deliveries. So, what I like about this strategy you just described is that it's so much more important on delivery where maybe you're only averaging 2 deliveries per hour. If you can get that one delivery just 10, 15 minutes quicker or 5 minutes quicker, it does make a big impact on your earnings, right? Versus Uber and Lyft, if you're doing 3 to 5 short trips an hour or 3 to 4 short trips an hour, it's less meaningful on your earnings, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the basics of it.